Hey guys, today I'm going to go through some of the changes on the new patch and what comps you might expect to see. So starting off, just a quick introduction for those of you who don't know who I am. I'm a Challenger player from OCE. I've been Challenger every set since 5.5. Just recently we played in the Tacticians Cup and we made it to top 8 out of 128 players, meaning we made it to regionals. Moving on, firstly I've just listed out the comps from patch 16.2. This isn't all of them, but just the more common ones we've been seeing. So going into patch 16.3, what's going to change? Well, firstly, Fastline Rise Ziggs is probably going to be a little bit weaker because they nerfed the damage on Ziggs by a little bit and also increased the XP to get from level 8 to level 9. Bilgewater is also going to be a lot weaker, so I probably want to click on Bilgewater this patch because they've nerfed it all across the board, including Fizz, who was the main threat in that comp. The comps that I've highlighted in green have gotten some changes that's probably going to make them a bit more playable, and every other comp here that I haven't highlighted has gotten either like no changes or some little adjustments, so if they were playable last patch, they're probably still fine to play this patch. Next, I'm just going to briefly go through the comps highlighted in green that might see a bit more play this new patch. Firstly, we have Void Kaiser, whose unlock condition is being changed from level 8 to level 7, which is huge. In compensation for this, they're nerfing the 1-star damage by a little bit. Void also now always gives an offense mutation first, and they're making some adjustments to Spitter Spines and Royal Husk. To play this comp, ideally you want 2-1 Void, and the preferred mutations for your 2 and 4 Void are still going to be Iron Carapace and Spitter Spines. For the Kaiser build, AD is still going to be a little bit better than AP, but it'll just depend on what items you get dropped. In terms of the boards you can play, there's like 2 main variations. You can play around the Zorn units, so if you have like a Blitzcrank early game, then it's going to be really easy to pivot into this comp because you'll easily unlock the Singed, and on level 9, you'll play Ziggs and drop Blitzcrank for Shyvana. Otherwise, you'll just be flexing around good units like Volibear, Wukong, and Swain. If you can make it to level 10, then you're going to for sure be playing around Baron Nashor. Next, we have Warwick, who hasn't really seen much play, mainly because of his unlock condition, which requires a 2-star Vi and a 1-star Jinx. So if you didn't natural those units, then you were never really given a spot to play Warwick. On the new patch, they're changing the unlock condition to just 1 item on Vi and 1 item on Jinx, and of course you still need to be level 7. For the boards, there's a couple of variations. The most common ones are probably going to be playing around Freljord or Noxus. You ideally want to play around 5 Zorn if you can, and for the max cap of this board, you'll be playing around legendaries like Shyvana, Ziggs, Lucian Senna, and Kindred. Next, we have Shadow Isles. They've made it so that Viego only needs 1 item on him to unlock the Yorick, and they buff Thresh's passive damage and passive healing. Even with these changes, I probably would only play towards Shadow Isles if you have some decent Viego items to slam in the early game. So items like BT, Hodge, and Titans. These aren't Kalista items, but that's fine because you can just move them over to Ambessa, Thresh, or Fiddlesticks later. You don't want to be putting Kalista items on him because without any kind of defensive items, he's just going to be dying early in the fights, and you're going to farm no souls and lose a bunch of rounds in the early game. Keep in mind that Viego falls off pretty hard on stage 3, so make sure you do have some decent items, decent frontline, or even like a secondary carry so you can keep up with the lobby tempo. As for the board, you're going to be playing around a ward in frontline and usually disruptors. Make sure to have at least Vanquisher in for your Kalista, and you're going to cap out the board by playing around Ornn, Fiddlesticks, and Shuremans. Next, we have Tryndamere. He's getting a small damage buff, but still nowhere close to where he was in patch 16.1c. They've also made it so that to unlock Tryndamere, you only need 1 item on Ashe instead of 2. I would only play Tryndamere if you have a decent item to slam on stage 2 so you can start stacking the AD. There's a lot of good artifacts on Tryndamere, so augments like Portable Forge are really good. Next, we have Diana / Aurelion Sol. They're making some pretty big changes to some of the Targon units. For example, Leona now gives AP to your Diana every second. If you have a 2-star Leona, it's equivalent to an Archangel staff. Because of this change, they're nerfing Diana's damage by a little bit, but if you have a Diana with a Leona on board and you can make it to about 15 seconds, overall it's going to be a buff. Because of these changes, Diana might have a new build now. It might no longer be BT, Titans, and Gwynsus. Mordog mentioned in the patch rundown that the new Edge of Night might work well on Diana, so here I've got a possible build with Edge of Night, Hodge, and JG. Aurelion Sol is getting quite a number of changes, but in summary, they're making it so that he's less reliant on casting as many times as he can, as now the amount of Stardust he gets scales off the amount of damage he does rather than how often he casts. So now you can actually build damage items on Aurelion Sol, like JG and Rabadons. Sol is getting a damage buff, Tarik's durability effect is now replaced with healing, and all the aura effects persist even if the champion dies. If you're playing Aurelion Sol, you probably want to play around the other Targon units as well, because the more Targon units you have fielded, the more Stardust you get. So that's it for this video. Hopefully now you guys kind of have an idea of what to play going into this new patch. Feel free to check out the links to my Metafy and Twitch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.